So place. Place refers to the marketplace where buyers and sellers meet and exchange payment in return for the goods. So where the customer is going to purchase the product. And there's three main distribution channels, so ways of getting the product from the manufacturer to the consumer. So the longest one would be the manufacturer sells their products to a wholesaler. So I'm thinking like Kellogg's with this, they sell to a wholesaler, the wholesaler sells to smaller retailers, the retailer sells to the consumer. You can go a little bit more directly. So Kellogg's might actually also sell directly to retailers, but those would be the bigger retailers like Asda and Tesco, and then they sell to the consumer. Or you can do the direct approach, which is the manufacturer directly to the consumer. Typically, the fewer intermediaries, so these are all the intermediaries, the ones in the middle, so the other businesses that the product has to pass through before they get to the customer. The fewer intermediaries the product has to pass through, the cheaper the final price tends to be to the consumer. When you might get a more complicated question in the exam where you have to recommend the most appropriate marketplace and distribution channel. So the good thing about selling to wholesalers is the manufacturer can sell a bulk order. So the wholesaler will take them off the hands of the wholesaler takes them off the hands of the manufacturer. They store them, and then they deal with the smaller retailers as well. So if you think about Kellogg's, going back to that example, they are not going to want to sell to the millions of retailers all over the world. It's easier to sell to the wholesaler, and then they will deal with the individual retailers themselves and pay for the warehousing as well. However, retailers are a really good way to sell your product, and other retailers, we know that Kellogg's don't have any of their own retail stores because retailers will display them in a nice way, aesthetically, pleasing way to encourage consumers to buy them. They also will do the sales process as well, so they're in charge of employing and training those employees to make them persuasive at selling. Direct to customers, we know that Apple use many, they certainly sell to other retailers and other phone shops, but they also have their own shops as well. So they could go direct to the consumer either through their own retail stores or their own website. This is good when the manufacturer wants to keep control of the price. They want to display it in a certain way and have a certain brand image. The Apple stores are very aesthetically pleasing and laid out in this way, which is a bit atypical, really. It's a bit unusual to see retail stores with these big wooden desks in, and like they call them like genius bars, and making them like a place that you want to go and hang out, I suppose. So e-commerce, selling online, and m-commerce is selling through apps. That has introduced new channels of distribution. I do go through this in the technology video, so watch that one if you want more detail on that, but you need to know the benefits and problems of selling online. So multi-channel distribution is just when you use a combination of different channels. You don't just use one. So you could have your own store, own website, other retailers' websites. You could also go through wholesalers. You could go on comparison websites. So that's like comparethemarket.com. You do need to pay to be advertised on there. You could have telephone salespeople. You could have a catalogue. It does depend a little bit on what the product is, which one you'll go through. So I'm thinking of like a pen supplier. They probably go through other retailers, wholesalers, but they also might have a catalogue, a supply catalogue that they send out to businesses, and then businesses can directly order from them. So why would you use lots of channels of distribution? Well, it gives customers a choice of the way to buy their product, and so therefore you're hoping to maximise sales, profit, loyalty by giving that choice and convenience to the customers. So let's have a look at some past paper questions. What's meant by the retail sector? So this is when you the shops that sell the product to the final customer. And then a question here about Zara, and they're using multi-channel, what is meant by the term distribution channel. So it's how the product reaches that end consumer and the chain of businesses involved. And then there's a few examples there. You only need one of those points to get the 1 mark, same for the one at the top there. And then advantages and disadvantages of using multi-channel approach to sell its products. Well, here are some of the advantages. So retailer will be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They do mention in the case study that it's sell online. Yeah, multi-channel, selling in store, on the internet, and by catalogue. I didn't know that they had a catalogue themselves, but more choice for the consumer. You could possibly have different prices through different distribution channels. You can have a wider choice of goods. We know that, when I go into my local Sainsbury's store, they don't have, it's quite a small one, they don't have the range of goods that they do have online, because you can store many more things online. It's easier for them. Access more new customers that don't live near a physical store. That's a really good one. Using this data was in the case study as well, so use all the data to support your answers. Customers also, for some purchases, particularly clothes, you really do like trying them on in store, and then you can buy online. Try then buy is a technique that these clothes retailers use. However, it can be expensive to have to update your website. You have to have a nicely designed website as well. Customers will look for the best bargains, obviously. So this one, I think, is going back to this point where you could have like different prices through different channels. So if the shops are more expensive than the website, then they're just going to buy through the website. So, and then the shops, the fall in sales in the shops will fall, and then they'll think, well, why are we spending money on expensive premises? Not all customers have the internet, and technical problems, outages on your internet can result in the loss of reputation.